Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to B-Sides Las Vegas. This talk is given by Wendy Hou-Neely. A few announcements before we begin. We'd like to thank our sponsors, essentially. These talks are being streamed live, and as a courtesy to our speakers and audience, we ask you to check and make sure your cell phones are set to silent. Enjoy the talk.
Thank you. Can you hear me on the back? Okay, good. I wasn't sure. Thank you for the opportunity. It's really a privilege for me to be here. And thank you, Gabriel, for follow up on me and say, submit something. And anyway, I wanted this is my third year kind of giving this talk, but each year I have an area of focus. General is trend and cost and risk mitigations. So this year, I'm going to the agenda will be same thing, introductions, just get an idea, and then talk about some of the trends and statistics that we are seeing in terms of privacies, in terms of business interruptions, in terms of ransomware, as well as I added this year a little bit of the fraudulent fund transfers. And then since we collect a lot of the insurance applications every year, thousands, and we use those type of data to actually figure out what are the things that we should recommend to our customers. So based on their self-assessments, we connect that with claims and events, and then we do correlation studies, and then in the end, we actually give you a statistic number to say, if you increase this by this many percent, you'll reduce your breach probability by a certain percent as well. So those kind of stuff. So I sort of got into this slide already. So the data that we have, some of those are subscribed data. Those are the public data that we subscribe from vendors, including Zywave and Flashpoints, as well as public report, financial 10Ks and press release and so forth. And we also have our own proprietary data source. So we get claims. Annually, we get multiple claims from our clients. We get claims from the different region of the world as well. And then the next one we did starting to leverage more of, it's this customer self-assessment data. So this is a long list of hundreds of questions that when they come to us to apply for cyber insurance, we want them to fill out a form and then to say, how are you doing in terms of this area, multi-factor authentications and so on. And then also we have insurance portfolio data. So since we have, we also do the insure the reinsurer, we also get their insurance portfolio data. So it's kind of unique on that. So go to some trends and statistics. And the risk environment this year, data encryption, business interruption, data and business interruption still to be one of the most impactful of losses. And one of the things that I do want to focus on this year to talk a little bit more about is privacy regulations and compliance. This is becoming a pretty big things. From year to year, this is starting to get more and more bigger risk apply to more of the data. So in terms of data would be like, how do you use the data? How are you transparent on how you're going to use it? In terms of use collections, how long are you keeping the data? In terms of data brokers, we're all doing AIs. The data broker, sometimes you get data from your data brokers. And what kind of law do they follow? So those are kind of things that's continue to be a challenge. The good news is that we also see, we have increased frequency and sophistication of attacks. So this year we definitely see more event. However, the good news is that extortion event percentage-wise compared to all of the cyber event, business interruption, privacy breach, the ransomware event actually have gone down in terms of percentage-wise of the events. Also, another thing was that decrease in company paying ransom demands. So last year we did it was 23 some percent, and this year it went down to 18%. So it's good news. So that what that's also saying is a lot of our customers getting better at managing the control, managing their environment, doing backups and doing exercise so that they don't have to pay the ransom. So that's a nice thing to see. Wire fraud, we see that's growing. This was from Baker Hostler on that one. We do see 200% increase, more than 200%. The industry sector that we see more event this year is on communication, media and technology, healthcare, and wholesale, retail and wholesale. Those are the top 3 industries that we saw in the in terms of our clients. So just some background, we usually have the largest companies that we broker for. Marsh is the biggest insurance broker in the world. So in terms of global trends, we see a lot of the zero-day vulnerabilities being exploited. We see more of the cloud event as well. Everybody have seen that one, CloudStrike event, and that's anywhere, depending on who you ask, it's 1.5 to 5 billion, and depends on how many. That's a lot. It's a big number. Delta Airlines they lost $500 million for that one event for 5 days. That was it, $500 million loss in that 5 days. And then Change Healthcare, that was another big one. That's also in the billions. And then we also see a lot of the supply chain, Silk Typhoon, and as well as Scatter Spider. We see Scatter Spiders everywhere. We saw last year a lot in a lot of the Caesars, Entertainments, MGMs, also a lot of European retail as well. And so this is becoming a pretty big. It's starting to connect to also Snowflake, the AI storage company. And then, of course, the Microsoft, we also seen that as well. So you see a lot more of the event that would impact multiple companies, quite widespread type of events. Before I say anything about this one, this is by country. This is the top 10 country, and it's always, there's data bias on this one, definitely. So there's definitely more event in the US. It depends on the requirements of the reporting requirements. And so you can see US ranked pretty much number 1, and then Canada, Great Britain, and so on and so forth. But some of those, it's also due to language barriers. So maybe India, it's have a lot more event, but because our data source may not get translated. So we do see the English-speaking country has more event than the non-English speaking, and also the English alphabet type of country, we see more of those kind of reporting as well. So if you drill down to 2023, drill down to US, this is what you see more of. 2024 is still not a complete set of data because it takes about 30 some days to find them and then to report them, to actually report out, and then the data delays and so forth. So I picked the data up to, some of it's January of 2025, end of January, and so the data report-wise, it's not complete. So 2025, we didn't do that good, but that's just because that's a partial data set. It's not full data set. We're not done with 2025 yet. So in general, we do see probably 6 months to 9 months of data delays. In terms of cyber incidents, you can see finance and insurance goes and public admin and professional services being the top three. But you can see in general, finance starting to, from a lot more to slowing down. And then the bandwidth on this one, the next one is public admin. It's also, at first it's all about them on 2013, 2016, go on. And then that's also narrowing down. And then the third one is healthcare. Healthcare has continued to be a pretty focused target to the bad actors. So we've seen some pretty big events in healthcare this year as well. In terms of ransomware, it's a little different in terms of like highest one being manufacturer. You can see the manufacturer bandwidth starting to actually increase quite a lot. The next one is professional services, so that's this bandwidth right here, and you can see that the band is widening. And then the next one is healthcare. While the frequency of it looked like it's decreasing, but the severity we see it's pretty severe in terms of healthcare events. So the different industry does experience different type of cyber events. And if you look at incident response time, you can detection now have gotten a lot better. So different companies are using different tools to try to figure it out. So on the average, they improved by 10 days, which is from 36 to 26. And that's for the network intrusions, average all incidents from 42 to 31. So that's quite a lot of improvement. And containment's about the same, didn't change a whole lot. Analysis to completion, that also has improved some. And notifications, maybe not that much of a change, a little bit longer. So, cost components. So I did this one two different ways. The first one I ran the number here, and I was like, wow, the 1 in 100 is huge because I had some really large bridge response done. And so I said, okay, let me just take those guys out, given that that's not typical. And so then the second graph, I took out the outliers, and it went down a lot. But still, you can see the averages has gone from, it's still like 8.6 million versus 14.8. I would say that probably for most company I do wonder to see there could be pretty huge numbers for bridge response. Litigations, and by the way, the bridge response, we had about more than almost 500 data points on those. That's how I ran those numbers. And then on litigation, we also have about 400 something data points as well. So you can see that on the average, the data average is about 2.4 million, but the 1 in 100 is about $35 million. So it's pretty expensive in terms of cost components. And then recovery data average is about 2 million, and 1 in 100 is about 16 million. And some of those clients actually took a long time. We have, in terms of durations of data recovery, we have clients that has still recovering data that's a year long or more. So that's a pretty expensive number. Yeah.
Examples of what I guess examples of how you came up with that number. So like, are you calculating like people's salaries and?
No. We just based on, this is a conditional severity. So given there's an event, given that they told us what their number is, here's what the log normal distribution look like. That's what that is, yeah. So you can do the different, on average they're here, the median's here, and then the 1 in 50 is this thing, and 1 in 100 is that thing. So, yeah. So this has, when we actually do this severity analysis, when we build the model, we would associate the revenues and the employee count. Those are pretty standard parameters that we use to actually do the severity for a particular client. But for the number, for illustration wise, this is just saying that given all the event that we have numbers on, here's what the average look like.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. good news. Cyber market conditions, great. Look at the numbers. So one of the things that we are seeing is a lot of our clients are this year last year and this year, spend more time actually transferring the risk. So increase the limits and decrease the deductible retentions. So we see a lot of client because given those environments evolving, so they wanted to, so this is you look at the total program and the primary layer, it's pretty consistent. The price have gone down a lot. So this is good news for our clients. Privacy risk. So I'm going to go through some risk and trend. It's still one of the most impactful risk. And then of all the cyber perils, things that challenging to our customers. Where is the data? Where do you store it? Is it in the public cloud? Is it in the private cloud? Is it on-prem? Is it with a partner? Do you have data coming from the data broker? Is your SDK integrated with your environment that embedded in the application that consumes data? Does the SDK collect data? If it collects data, where's the data come from, right? And who has access? Is it employees, business partners? Business partner being one of the big one that we wanted to call out for. Sometime, you have a company, you have thousands of business partners that you work with. How much of your data do they have? And we're seeing companies that got breached by the business partner. The business partner went out of business. The company actually end up having to cover for those kind of losses because that is their data. And then how do you provide now is all those transparencies and user controls and stuff like that. Can you keep up with all of those kind of things? And then if there's record consent and certain consent that you have to have, and where is it needed, how do you get those? And how is the data being used? And so if you're doing machine learning, doing advertising, target advertising, can you do that? Do you have the right to those? Do they provide consent for those kind of things? So that's kind of questions that we see, challenges to a lot of the companies. Your data assets. So we've been talking for a long time, PII, PCI, and PHI. So now this year, this is starting to get more complicated. So I mentioned about SDKs and application data collections. Do they collect unnecessary data? And who's receiving those data? API that works with SDKs may allow other party to obtain data unintentionally. What about data brokers? Smart connections, variable device, a lot of the California CCPAs and privacy, what's this? CIPA, California Invasion of Privacy Act. There's sweepstakes, there's contests, there's surveys, any sort of reward program, biometrics. So those kind of things, like Texas just sued Facebook for biometric data violation. It end up to be hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think it's billions, 1 point something billions. So regulatory in this area has gotten to be a little crazy. From a state level, the BIPA, the CCPA, the CIPA, the California is kind of leading on this one. The federal government's now enforcement on, used to be the technology, surveillance technology now being repurposed to reinforce the pixels and session replays and those kind of stuff requiring compliance. And in terms of a global point of view, there's about GDPRs, there's about 144 plus country participates in that. And then the UK's and the France and Australia being the top three, gotten a lot more aggressive about it, collecting those kind of things. There's 140 privacy regulation global, and they're changing. So this is a tough one to actually manage. And there are other tools that there's 98% of the company fail the cookie audits per regulatory requirements. And then that's a study done by Pravani. And then for Allianz had a report last year saying that the average privacy litigation cost for data violations and now is at 30 million per incident. So this is a pretty big risk that, requires some attention. And if you look at the number of claims that we see, this is something 2023 sort of exploded, and 2024 it went down some. The CIPA being the one that's uprising, the California Invasion of Privacy Act. And the blue one, the light blue, the VPPA, and the website tracking. So it looked like the website tracking had gone down a bit, but you can see that those are getting more and more from 2020, 2021, and 2022, it's gotten to be a lot higher. So here are some of the losses. This is a chart that I updated yearly, actually regularly for our rep. And at this conference, and you can see one of the healthcare is 2.3 to 2.87 in terms of damages in billions. And so there's some number here that's pretty it's substantial compared to the bottom on this thing that fits on this page, 101 million on the privacy. So in terms of fines and penalties, it's also in the billions. The second one was the Facebook ones, 1.4 billion. State of Texas sued Facebook and got a settlement of 1.4 billion out of that one. So those are kind of like large fines and penalties that companies should pay attention to. So didn't mean to throw out all those bad numbers and not tell you what to do about it. So in terms of data minimization, on the new data, you can actually tag a lot of your data. So there is privacy called privacy enhancement technologies. So those are things like that you can do, because with AIs and stuff, you can do federated learning. That's one of them. You can basically you train the machine on decentralized data without directly sharing the data. There's also differential privacy, so add random noises to your data so that the statistic doesn't change, but it kind of obscures individual records and stuff. There's anonymization and pseudo-anonymization. Those are some of the PETs that you can use. For the old data, I know this is something that I'm always guilty of. Oh, I want to keep it. Maybe I can use it for something later. And so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you should prioritize. Say, by keeping it, what kind of risks do you incur? Just make that conscious decision about it. Notice and consents, you need to keep all of those kind of collected and understand how your data is being used. And of course, any sorts of disclosure requirements, keep track of it. If the regulator asks you, we need all the records of requests for documentations. How do you provide those? And then there's a lot of actually have a process, and there are tools. There's privacy program tools. There is basically for privacy setup, not necessarily risk monitoring, but notices, consents, and DSR implementations, all of those there's tools for those. And there's also data discovery and vault tools. I don't want to name vendors here, but if you want, it's actually in the notes of my presentation. Of course, too, map you internal data. And there's some of those insurers, their risk management offering actually provides those tools, given that for free. And it's included, I shouldn't say for free, it's included in the risk management option that they have. So if your premium is above certain points, some of those things you could just get. And that's all just monitoring and automating those and testing out and see what are you failing, what are the things that you got to do. So that there actually have a process and tools in place. You can do all this stuff so that you don't have to keep up with the 140 plus regulations and stuff that worldwide. It's impossible. Next, I want to talk about is business interruption. So one of the big one this year, last year was the CrowdStrike one. Again, that was, depends on who you ask. That was 400 million to 1.5, but the cyber accusers is about 5.4. But Delta was saying that we lost 500 million. According to their CEO, they lost 500 million in 5 days. So we could do the cancellations and stuff like that. So the United Healthcare had the 2 billion dollar worth of losses. 2.87 was the high end. The business interruption there, it's about 800 some million dollar of business interruption loss in that one. So again, this is actually a pretty big bucket. And I know I talked about this one before, and I wanted to just give the heads up of talk about the different type of business interruption that people should be aware of. One, everybody know about the malicious hacking type of business interruption and DDoS and so those kind of stuff. So that's the first type. It's network interruption and interrupt your security failures type of interruption. But second type of business interruption would be the system failure. Even the software you use. I mean, that's where Move It, right? That's another one of those. You use somebody else's software and they have a bug in it. And then the Microsoft SharePoint, there's something that's also vulnerabilities. Those kind of has also could cause business interruptions. And that's not always called out in the insurance policy. So make sure if that's something that you guys, the company is concerned, that's something that you would want to make sure that's included in the policy. And then the third one would be this contingent business interruption. So caused by a third party, which could be IT provider or non-IT provider, your supplier, your critical supplier. You don't have batteries that you can put into electric cars. That could be another type of, you can't produce cars, and can't have cars that you can't sell. So that happened during the pandemic, for example. I also wanted to go through some of the risk areas of business interruption. So third-party risk, that was the one I want to focus on a bit. It's 60% of the organization work with more than 1,000 partners. So you can imagine, you have partners have consultants have contractors, and blah, blah, blah. There's so long list of the chain of that. And 73%, that's more than 2/3, have experienced significant disruption by a third party. That's a pretty big one. And then 27%, about a third of incident, it's involving a vendor. So, and then of course the supply chains and stuff. So this is an area that that I think you should focus on, have some awareness and understanding, make sure you understand what kind of interruption you could experience. And then, of course, the AI stuff, the access, the plugin, the design, the data, that could be poison data, that could be the trained your model, who knows, in those kind of things that could cause interruption as well. And here's some of the large business interruption event. CrowdStrike was here, is about 400 million to 1.5, but not including lawsuits. And so this is not done yet. So this will still be working. It's involving over 100 some companies now in terms of we're seeing. One of the things that I want to spend a little bit of time, because one of the trouble with this business interruption claim is that we don't always see the data. And part of it is because it's so hard to make a claim. So I want to spend a little bit of time just to give you what's acceptable, and also the length of a claim and adjustment process, like 12 to 18 months on average. We see a lot of those. And then the proof of loss is somewhat complicated, as well as everybody's arguing about their forensic accounting I have mine, you have yours. How do we manage that? And then also what's covered, what's not. So if you have an environment that's breached and you upgrade your computer, you upgrade your software, how much of that is count as betterment that does not? It's not replacement, it's betterment. So how much of that should be covered? So on the left, it's coverage for best practice, and that is widely accepted by the market. So proof of loss, you wanted to make sure your whatever proof of loss you put together, it is a cover item, and then of course get agreement ahead of time to get the forensic accounting. So you can have your own forensic accounting, and also the insurer would have their own. They sometimes just agree to compare notes, and so oftentimes one of the things that we've seen is that insured, the companies gets forensic accounting, the first submission, and they said, no, our forensic accounting doesn't agree with that. So if you have your broker that actually could help you, shepherd you through the way to say, hey, this broker it's approved, or this FA is approved ahead of time, then they'll save you a lot of time for those. And then also it's okay for you to ask them to say, you know what, if I submit this, I want a response within 30 days. And then whatever it's agree to, pay me now, don't wait till all the way in the end. So this is all standard, okay, accepted by the market. The secondary, which is could make things faster, is simultaneous review. It's on the other side, right side. I'm on the left. So anyway, you could have your own forensic accounting, and they have their own, and each one of them, given the same data set, let's calculate it and compare notes in the end. Or you can also have get a joint umpire to say, we agree to have so-and-so as the umpire to reconcile this. So do this upfront, so it'll make things a lot faster, a lot quicker for the claim, so you could reduce to 12 to 18 months that way. Ransomware. Ransomware, I'll start with the losses. This one, the healthcare showed up in both places as well as retail. It's also some of the big ones that come up in 2024. So if you look at the event count by year, 2024, it's from 2022 to 2023, it's still a lot. I mean, number-wise, it increased quite a lot by year. And if you look at quarter over quarter, it's still 2023 Q2 that was jumped right up. That's also you can see ransomware is still out there. Compared to other apparel, it is less percentage-wise. And some of the total loss, year over year total loss, it's anywhere. So you can see from 2022 is 1.1, and 2023 it doubled that almost, and 2024 is 50% more than what 2023 was. So that's jumping. 2024 has a big ransomware claim losses. In terms of percentage of people that pay ransom, I get a lot of company ask, what's other people doing? Are they paying or are they not paying? I want to know who's paying, how many of them is paying. So there's the graph of who's paying, who's not paying. So you can see from 88% in 2021, they pay. By 2024, it's only 18%. So it is getting better in terms of paying. Companies are not paying because their control is getting better. This is a demand versus payment, and you can see that the demand amount have gone up a lot on 2024. pay also gone up. So the first graph, so first side it's the demand, second one's the pay for the year. So you can see in the beginning in 2019, they just wild. They're just like, we'll demand whatever it is. But now they have gotten more precise toward the end there. The gap of the differences between the ransom demand and pay has decreased. It's still pretty big, but it's not as big as it was before. In terms of pay, I took the 95th percentile, so I won't show what their losses are. So fraudulent fund transfer, this is just a mention. I'm starting to say, okay, since this is a category that's up and coming, we do see jumps in this one, and it's often occurred through business email compromise. We see more of that causing fraudulent funds. And here are some of the large fraudulent fund transfer, the big one being about 600 some million on top. And that's from 2022, 2023. 2023, the numbers seem to be smaller. And still, we see more. You can see a lot of those 100 million, 120 some million, 100 million in 2023 and 2024. So here's the fun one. How do you improve your odds using what we have done? So we collect, on an annual basis, we collect about a few thousands of insurance applications and self-assessments. So this thing is still the same. For 2025, we still recommend the 12 cyber security control. There's a paper that's coming out in a couple weeks that actually drill down to say what kind of multi-factor authentication should you do, and then in endpoint data protection, how much is good enough by implementations. So like, for example, some of the, I'll go through the more details on this one a little bit. Asset management matters. You can see that you need to understand what the data is, where your assets are. Is it on the cloud? Is it on, public cloud? How do they transfer? What are the data transfer restrictions? What are the law that the data you got from is complied to? Those kind of things that in terms of asset, if there's any way to identify rogue assets and stuff. In terms of identity management, control privilege access being number one in return on investment, but not just on Windows, but also in the clouds, in the software service applications, various other applications. So those are kind of things. Also too, process coverage and cloudware pen testing, just not just your on-prem stuff, but as well as things that happen in the cloud. A validation of doing help desk of passwords and those kind of things. I want to talk a little bit about MFA. MFA was that of the client that we survey, about 90 to 100%, that's a pretty good number, have MFA. So what kind of MFA does it pay off? So one of the things that we did study is the phishing resistant MFA. And then the other one, it's about 3x better if you actually have that implemented. And also there's a biometric and endpoint certificates also has the highest value. It's also another 3% better. So how much of an MFA you should implement also makes a huge difference. And of course, EDR. So 25% increase in EDR correlates to 2 to 3% decrease in breach likelihood. So if you done your EDRs, and then about 75% was kind of where we see the saturation point is. So the degree you implement certain things, it makes a difference. And then of course have a plan. Usually it's a 2.2 million less in breach response if you actually have deploy the security AI and automations across your SOCs. and plan for zero-day softwares, educate your staff, integrate your insurance into your incident response. Have a conversation ahead of time. In our website, we actually have a list of vendors that's been vetted through by us to say that they are vendor that's approved that would reduce your risk. So you can go to our website and look through those things and who are the one that the insurance broker does endorse. So also to secure AIs and have a very clear roles and responsibilities and know where the data is, how it's used. We spend a lot of time talking about it. The average breach cost for data is 4.88 million. So, and also confirm your process and of course tabletop exercise. Optimize your resource. So delete your unnecessary data, the value of the data versus the risk of the data, keeping that data. You should make a conscious decisions. You want to assess the impact based on you have a very well-defined rules ahead of time to decide what this impact could be, and classify your incidents by impact. So, if is it a escalation? Do I need to notification? Usually you want to involve legals and stuff and documentations and all of that stuff. Those are kind of things that you should have. If applicable, do I need to file AK? So, last but not least, back to again, reduce your data, data asset. So automate, delete, and limit data provided to the suppliers. Make sure they have a deletion kind of thing. Inventory of your asset, and classify your data. So new data coming in, classify it, apply the privacy enhancement technology to it, set it up right so that you will mitigate your costs. Understand where your data is stored, whether it's in the LAN, in the cloud, public cloud, private cloud, software service, and then any sorts of third-party supplier, both supplier as well as your third-party consumer of your data. Be understanding what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and what kind of law do you need to be compliant in order to supply those data to the partners. I got 4 minutes for questions. Yep.
First, thank you. That was a great talk. Maybe a round of applause real quick.
Thanks. Thank you.
And you mentioned a study coming out soon with some of the details about MFA. Where will that study come out? Where can we find it?
Wait. Let's see. There's a little scanning right there. You can scan it, and I forgot about that one. And that's coming out in a couple weeks, and you'll see all the detail. I think that's we will publish that, but there are a lot of paper in there that talking about what we learn from our clients, and then by doing studies to correlating. There's also a physical loss study is also coming out. Physical damages in terms of cyber. It's also coming out in a few weeks as well. So go there, and then if you want a presentation, you can also go there. I'll send it to you as well. So.
And so maybe more practical question. It looked like ransomware went up around 19, 20, 21, big losses, and it dropped back down.
Yep.
And now it kind of looks like very similar trend to that previous point with, a doubling, tripling, quadrupling in losses, but we haven't seen the insurance market respond with premiums because you showed a minus 3% rate. Mm-hmm. Do you have any ideas why we're seeing those increases in losses, but not the response of the industry?
I think part of it could be that, this is my speculation now, the attacks become a lot more complicated. Our customers also a lot better in terms of defending themselves. And also too, insurance company as well too, they have a lot more tools that they actually, some of those, they used to, like those privacy scanning stuff, they would say, this is the management risk option. With that option, given that your premium that you do get some of those tools. And that you don't have to pay. It's part of your thing. So they are helping customer managing those risks and a lot more of integrating it within the insurance within their environment. Now there's a lot more restrictions, and I wouldn't say restrictions, a lot more and wanted to know more about their environment when they apply for insurance. So if there's something that doesn't look right, fix it before you come again. Yeah, so that's why there's 100-some questions that 300. I wouldn't say it was like 300 questions that they have to answer when they come apply for insurance, and about your all the lists that you saw, the 12 controls. But there's a whole bunch more of those. We just say that of those things, that was the list of risk things that we see that's basically required, especially the top 6. If you don't have those done, that's why when we do MFAs, 90 to 100% our customer have it. But to what degree, that's a different story. Yeah. Yep.
Last question.
Thank you. Jumping back up to your trends and stats section of the presentation, I noticed that you spoke a lot about the source of the incidents that you were perceiving there, and like who perpetrated them, kind of on the attribution side. Is that data that's critical to your loss evaluations, or is that just something that's kind of like a nice to have that you study?
We haven't gotten to that part yet. So, and also too, who attacked your environment, that changes all the time. So it's hard to track that one.
It seemed like a lot of the incident data that you were talking about as far as the trends you were specifically attributing to various threat actors there. Am I perceiving that incorrectly?
I think they change. They change quite a lot. The threat actor would be, like the scatter spider, that was one of them. Mm-hmm. That was this year. But before this year, they weren't, yeah.
Gotcha. So it's less important to the covered loss and more just something that you are tracking
the trend,
more broadly.
We're keeping the bad actors, but oftentimes they would disintegrate and become a separate thing and call themselves something else. So it's harder for us to,
How much asset management is enough?
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, okay. How much asset management is enough? Oh God. So I think you should go look at the paper that we have on that one.
I'm sorry, guys. We have to end the session. It is past time. I'm sure she will be free to answer questions outside.
Sure. Thank you.